Hey there, I'm Samurai Sam, and this is a continuation of my quest to look at every single game in my collection, one by one, with a little blurb about each one. And today I'm starting PlayStation, which is probably going to be like a few episodes, because I have over 200 PlayStation 1 games. It's a lot. So let's get right to it. We have 40 winks, no manual for this one. I don't know a lot about this game. It's a 3D platformer, and you play as like this kid with who holds a candle, at least in the beginning, and you platform. Yeah, it's considered not that great of a game. I don't know. I got it like for nothing, so I think so. Yeah, not much to say. Alundra, this is one I do have stuff to say about. This is a game I've had for a long time. I actually owned it for how long? I owned it for like 14 years before actually beating it. Believe it or not, I just beat it this year, and it's a Zelda-ish game. Not a rip-off, but like similar style. And you are Alundra, and you can enter people's dreams, and like. You shipwreck onto this town, and like you live in this town from then on, and like get to know the people, and like you have to like save the town from like this evil like godlike being. And it's a good game. It's got good 2D graphics and some good puzzles and stuff. But there's some parts of it that I didn't really like that much. Some puzzles are a little bit too obtuse. Some boss fights aren't really that good, and sometimes they take a little too long if you don't have. The map fell out. That's kind of weird. I'm just going to have to put this to the side, I guess. So yeah, Alundra, good game. Not like, I don't think I would call it great, but it's good. Then Alundra 2, this is generally considered to be pretty mediocre. I haven't played it very much, though. It actually has nothing at all to do whatsoever with the first Alundra, which is kind of weird because, like, why would they even call it that? Why not call it its own thing? And it's a 3D action-adventure game, and I haven't played it a lot. I probably only played like an hour or so. It didn't seem awful when I played it, but, people say it's not that good. Arc the Lad Collection. This is kind of a crazy undertaking by Working Designs. This contains 3 complete Arc the Lad games plus one spin-off game, all in one package. They localize all of them for just this one release. And I've only played through most of Arc the Lad 1. I haven't played the rest of them. Arc the Lad 1 really wasn't that good. I thought it was going to be better than it was. They're strategy RPGs, very much like Shining Force. And, yeah, I didn't really like Arc the Lad 1, but apparently 2 and 3 are way better than 1, so I'm not saying the whole collection is garbage, but, yeah, Arc the Lad 1, not very good. Here we have Ape Escape. This is a PlayStation game that I actually have a black label version of this. I don't know why I don't just have that one out here. I guess I should probably swap that out. Ape Escape is a 3D platformer, and this was a game that was released when the PlayStation had just recently gotten the DualShock controller, so it had joysticks. And so this game is specifically made for the DualShock joystick controller, and you do a lot of things with joysticks that you don't normally do with joysticks in video games. And like a lot of the items you get and stuff are centered around like using the joysticks in different ways. And the gameplay involves trying to catch these runaway monkeys that will try and everything in their power to get away from you. And it's pretty fun. I didn't think it was like super amazing or anything. Then again, I didn't play it when I was a kid. I played it when I was a little older, so, I mean, that's part of it. But it's a good game. Yeah, probably worth checking out. Some people really like Ape Escape. I think it's good. It's not like one of my favorites, though. Asteroids. This is a kind of, like, it's not necessarily, I guess you could call it a remake. Like, it's kind of like a remake with, like, new modes and stuff. It's a remake of the classic arcade game of the same name from the late 70s, Asteroids. I actually think this is a really good game. Asteroids is one of my is definitely my favorite game from the 1970s that was released in that decade. And so I was really happy to have this. I felt like this game is a pretty good 3D reimagining of it with like what at the time was modernizing it. And yeah, if you like Asteroids the arcade game, definitely check this out. It's pretty good. Atari Anniversary Edition. So this contains some classic Atari arcade games, which is pretty exciting, but the problem with this is for some of the graphical effects used on the arcade machines, they aren't reproduced on here. So, like, for example, Asteroids on this, the original Asteroids, it uses the arcade machine used like an actual light or some kind. Like, it's hard to describe if you haven't seen it, but like it's not like a game graphic. It's like it looks like an actual light on the screen. And so this game does not reproduce those special graphics, and that kind of sucks, because it makes the games worse. So this doesn't seem like a very good collection. I got it for cheap, so I'm not like that upset about it, but yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it. Azure Dreams. This is one of the 3 games in the English version of Metal Gear Solid that Psycho Mantis will call out by name if he hears the save data on your memory card. This is like one of those roguelike kind of games where you're going through dungeons and they're randomly generated and stuff. This one involves raising monsters. Like, I think you can catch them. If not, you can certainly raise them. You like hatch monsters and raise them and stuff. And there's also like a dating sim element to this game as well. I tried to get into it once or twice and haven't really been able to, but it does seem like an intriguing game. I do want to give it another shot. I just feel like I kind of have to be in the right gaming mood in order to really get the most out of this. Ball Breakers, an interesting title. I haven't played this one too much either. This is like you're playing as these robots that move around on these ball feet. Like they literally roll around and like kind of, it almost looks like they float on the ball. And I'm forgetting what the objective of this game even is. I think you try to kill each other, basically. Yeah, but like apparently it's a good multiplayer game. I definitely should try the multiplayer at some point because I like multiplayer, on the couch multiplayer. Oh, goodness. Almost dropped my phone in the game. Big Ol' Bass 2. I got this because of my friend and cousin Peter Scarrett's recommending it. And it's a fishing game, obviously, but apparently, like, it can get pretty silly. Like, I guess you can catch stuff that's, like, really unrealistic, and that kind of intrigued me. So, yeah, I picked it up. I haven't played it too much, though. Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. This is kind of one of those, like, I want to say this is kind of PC style-ish, but it's like a Western action-adventure, Western meaning, like, developed in the U.S., kind of action RPG sort of thing. And it's got a pretty good reputation. I'm not sure if it's really going to be that much to my liking, but, you know, I'll give it some time someday and see what I think. Bomberman World. This is a game I got for pretty much literally nothing. I mean, I've talked about Bomberman before. I don't think I need to explain it to you. It's mostly known for multiplayer. This is not considered one of the better Bomberman games, and so partially for that reason, I haven't really... It's not my Bomberman game of choice if people are over. Maybe someday I'll fire it up and see what I think. Brave Fencer Musashi. This is a action-adventure game from Squaresoft, and it's got a really good soundtrack and some amusing characters with some good humor involved, too. Like, most of the characters have names based on food for some reason. That's amusing. I didn't feel like the gameplay was really that good, though. I made it really far in this game and then kind of gave up near the end. I just felt like the combat was awkward and stuff, and, like, it has a day-night mechanic and, like, things that happen on certain days of the week. And I felt like it wasn't really that good in some ways. Like, it's like something about like going to the final dungeon needs to be on a certain day or something. It was just kind of annoying. And yeah, I was a little disappointed with Musashi, I'm afraid. I wanted to love it, couldn't quite love it. So here we have Breakout. This is just another one of those kind of Atari. There was several of these like Atari reimaginings on the PlayStation, and it seemed good enough to be worth owning. I think this has multiplayer. Yeah, I should probably... up to 4 players, actually. Might be fun to play multiplayer sometime. Breath of Fire 3. I actually played through like a few hours of this at the start of this year, literally like on New Year's Day is when I started. And this is an RPG, obviously, and I think it felt like a little slow to get going, so I kind of moved on for other things, but I'll probably revisit it at some point. It has a pretty unremarkable battle system. 2D graphics are okay. I've heard the story is really good. Can't really say too much about Breath of Fire 3, though. Where's Breath of Fire? Oh, there it is. It's out of order. That's weird. Then there's Breath of Fire 4, in which I really haven't played at all, so I'm afraid I can't say too much about it. It's, another one of those Capcom RPGs. Breath of Fire as a series has kind of struggled to really, like, grab me. I did beat the first one, and I thought it was good, but not great. And then the second one I played for a while and then kind of stopped. Here we have Bushido Blade. This is a sword fighting game, like a weapon-based fighting game, only it's designed to be realistic. So, like, one hit can straight up defeat your opponent, like it would in real life if it's placed well enough. And, like, you can cripple your opponents and stuff. And I think it's pretty cool and well done for what it is. And it's a game that I enjoy, like, playing with people because, like, it's kind of amusing to experience a game like this with another person. And then, of course, there's Bushido Blade 2, which is much of the same. One thing I'll say is that it's a little frustrating in Bushido Blade 2 particularly to like try and unlock all the characters because single player is just really frustrating. Like one hit and you can just be dead, and it's really annoying. So probably what I'd rather do is like download a save or use a cheat code to get all the characters rather than unlock them myself. Broken Sword 2, the Smoking Mirror. This is a sequel to obviously Broken Sword, which is a popular adventure game, like PC style adventure game. and it's one of those games where like you solve puzzles and like it's very story based, kind of like a visual novel sort of. I haven't really played this. I haven't played any of the Broken Sword games, like actually for real. So unfortunately, I can't say too much about that. We have Bust a Groove, which is like a rhythm dancing game by Konami. Is it? No, it's not Konami. It's 989 Studios. 989 Studios apparently. Oh, Annex. That's what I'm thinking of. So it's pretty fun. I've played it some with friends, and like basically it's a kind of versus based, so you play against someone else at all times, I believe, and like you make dance moves and you try to make the other person mess up, and yeah, it's pretty good. Not like amazing, but good. And there's also Buster Groove 2, which is kind of more of the same and also good. Here we have, a big one here is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. This is considered a classic and one of the pioneers of the Metroidvania genre, as it's now known. Basically, the type of game where the whole game is kind of one big level, and you are able to access more and more of it as you make progress and gain new power-ups and stuff. And yeah, this game's really well done. It has the soundtrack to die for, and really good gameplay, and it's got really cheesy voice acting, which is kind of amusing. I don't think I love Symphony of the Night quite as much as some people do, but it is undoubtedly a very good game, and I'm happy to have played it. Chocobo's Dungeon 2. This is part of the Mystery Dungeon series, which I've talked about a little bit, where like you go through randomly generated dungeons and it's roguelike and stuff. And I played like a couple hours of this one, and I forget exactly why, but I was a little frustrated / underwhelmed by it. But I do want to give it a try again. It's definitely very charming and amusing, and I like the music a lot. Chocobo's Dungeon 1, I'm afraid, never came out in America. They just released the second one and just straight up put the 2 on it because they didn't want to. They wanted to be consistent, I guess, which I respect. Here we have Chocobo Racing. This is a game that I have played and beaten, and it's a Mario Kart style, as you would expect, racing game. And it's pretty fun, actually. The controls are nice and tight, and I like that. And the downside to this one is that even if you have a multi-tap, you cannot play more than 2 players versus, which is a shame. But yeah, if you like Final Fantasy and you like Mario Kart, this is definitely a solid pickup. I recommend it. Here we have Chrono Cross, the sequel to Chrono Trigger, and a very, very, very different game than Chrono Trigger. I had some trouble getting into this game at first. I thought it was really bad. Then friend convinced me to give it another shot, and I did, and I wound up able to enjoy it, and I played it to the end. Still don't really think it's a great game. Like, the gameplay is to me. It's not that great. You could recruit a ton of characters in this, which is kind of interesting. There's like 2 different worlds where like there's like an alternate world, kind of like a Link to the Past sort of thing, kind of that sort of deal. But I didn't really feel like it was that great of a, like, I think those mechanics can be really, really cool. I didn't really think it was really, really cool in Chrono Cross, but, you know, maybe other people thought differently, that's fine. Definitely the soundtrack is amazing in this game, for sure. It's the best thing about it, really. Here we have Cool Borders 2, which is a snowboarding game, and I haven't played a lot of it, but I know this is a good snowboarding game, so someday I'll probably play it more. I can't really say too much at this moment. Ooh, here we got Crash Bandicoot, one of the most famous PlayStation games, one of the early mascot PlayStation games. Like, I guess mascots of the PlayStation. I don't know. Early killer app. So this is a 3D platformer. Its age shows a little bit. This definitely feels like an early PlayStation game in a few different ways. But, yeah, it's a fun 3D platformer, and it's, you know, level-based. And, I'm in the definitely in the minority on this, but this is actually my favorite of the Crash games. And a lot of it's just because I really like the challenge of Crash 1, and I can see why it would frustrate a lot of people, because it's tough. But I just really liked it. I don't know. I guess I enjoyed the challenge. It's definitely a game where they want you to go for 100% completion, but it would be kind of annoying to do so, honestly. Then we have Crash 2, which is also a very good game. Definitely easier than the first one. Added analog support. This one feels a little bit more up to par with like regular like what you would expect from a PlayStation game. Like the first Crash Bandicoot has some wonky things, like you can only save at the end of bonus level or something weird like that. Like with this game, they took care of that kind of stuff. And then Crash Bandicoot Warped. Sadly, it's not the holographic cover, but I think people generally regard this as the best one of the 3 on the PlayStation. And like I already said, I like the first one the most, but 2 and 3 are also quite good. And then we have Crash Bash, which is Crash's take on the Mario Party formula, although this does not have board games like Mario Party. It's pretty much just mini games. And it's pretty fun. Like, mostly with this game, there's like several core mini games that kind of the game is built around. And then what happens is, as you progress through the game, you unlock more and more variations on those mini games. Like, it'll be on a different surface or what have you, or different weapons or different rules. So, yeah, pretty fun game. Not like amazing, but good. And here's Crash Team Racing, which is probably one of the better Mario Kart clones out there. And yeah, it's definitely like a Mario Kart ripoff, but it's a good one. And it has like a story mode, which Mario Kart doesn't have. Yeah, it's a really solid game, good for multiplayer. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about it other than that. I did play it quite a bit when I was a kid. Not like a ton, but some. Here we have Croc Legend of the Gobos, and I'll admit, pretty much the only reason I have this game is because of Kid Icarus's video on it, and how me and my sister are amused by it and like to talk about it with each other and kind of reference it sometimes. So I got it for cheap, and so just because I wanted to have it. It's not a great game by any means. Dance Dance Revolution, a very famous rhythm game, arguably the most famous rhythm game there is. And yeah, I have a dance pad for the PlayStation and PlayStation 2 that I can use with this game, and it's a lot of fun. It's got some of the classic tracks that I think of when I think of Dance Dance Revolution. Probably not the best version of DDR that exists, but I like it very much. And also there's Dance Dance Revolution Kona Mix, which is basically the same thing with different songs. Not much else to say. Dave Mira Freestyle BMX Maximum Remix. I don't remember why exactly I got this game. This is one of those extreme sports games that's similar to Tony Hawk, although Tony Hawk, I haven't gotten to it yet. I haven't actually talked about Tony Hawk. But, yeah, you do tricks on bikes and try to get points. This unfortunately reminds me of my late cousin Josh, who just passed away this past week. He liked this game. Unfortunately, I won't be able to play it with him. Here we have Devil Dice. This is a, I don't know how to describe this game. I haven't played it very much, but, like, it's up to 5 players multiplayer, which is pretty cool. And it's basically you walk on top of these dice, and you try to, like, rearrange the numbers so that they make certain patterns or something. And, I can't really give an opinion on it, I'm afraid. Then here's, Digimon World. This is kind of a virtual pet sort of RPG kind of game. And, like, you have to take care of the Digimon and, like, bring them to the bathroom and, like, raise them and stuff. And then use them in battle and such. And I haven't really played it. I really liked the Digimon animes when I was younger. But never really got into the games. I will try this at some point. Apparently this is... I think this is considered one of the best Digimon games. I could be wrong, though. Discworld 2. We'll actually get to Discworld 1 a little bit later. But this is another one of those kind of PC-style adventure games like... well, actually kind of like Broken Sword, which I already looked at. And there's obviously a lot of humor going on with this game. Eric Idle voices the main character of Monty Python fame, among other things. And I haven't played it too much, but it seems hilarious and stuff. Here's Dragon Warrior 7, one of the best-selling PlayStation games in Japan ever. RPG, late in the PlayStation library, yet looks kind of... graphics aren't that impressive. This is considered like... This is like one of the longest RPGs, I think, of... maybe ever made. Like, this game takes forever to beat. I have not beaten it. It takes like 3 or 4 hours to actually get into your first combat, which is kind of weird. I actually did play the whole intro up to that first combat, and then I just kind of stopped playing the game for some silly reason. So I can't really give an opinion on it. From what I've heard, it's not really that great, but, I mean, I haven't played it for myself, so who am I to say? Duke Nukem Time to Kill. I forget exactly what prompted me to get this game. I probably got it for like just about nothing. Duke Nukem is really famous. He's like kind of like a vulgar, he's kind of like a purposefully overdone, like exaggerated action hero who like says vulgar things and does vulgar things, and he's kind of like a meme material. I have met his voice, John St. John. And then here's Duke Nukem Total Meltdown. And actually, I should mention that Time to Kill is a third-person action game, and this is the first-person shooter. This is a first-person shooter, which Duke Nukem is more well-known for. He's more known as a first-person shooter protagonist. Here is Einhander for the PlayStation, a Squaresoft shoot-'em-up. And the first time I played this a long time ago, for some reason I didn't really like it that much. Then I got it, I got rid of it. Then I got it again fairly recently, and I played it a little bit, and it seemed much better than the first time I played it for some reason. I don't know why. So I do want to spend more time on this and have a more concrete opinion. I have not yet. Elemental Gearbolt. This is a light gun game published by Working Designs. I don't know who developed it, though. But this is very intriguing. It's very different from what you expect from a light gun game. It's less like focused on just being an arcade shooter. It's like it's got all kinds of like mechanics to it, like different elements, I think, or whatever, like fire, water, whatever. And apparently it's pretty challenging too. And seems like a cool game. Definitely want to play it. It's one of my favorite titles of a game ever. Just Elemental Gearbolt. I like that. Here's a game that I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of. It's Urgies, I think you call it. This is a 3D fighting game, like a kind of like an arena fighter, I guess you would say. Or is it? Is it more like a 3D fighter? I think you can kind of like free roam like around the map, so I don't think it's like quite like Virtua Fighter Tekken kind of deal. But this game is well known for having Final Fantasy VII characters in it. I will say this game has the most obnoxious menu selection sound effect I've ever heard. It's just like really loud and ugly and ugh. But the game is interesting. Seems okay from what I've played. I played some multiplayer and it seemed alright. I'll probably play more of it at some point. I have the Final Fantasy VII demo disc here. And then I have, of course, actual Final Fantasy VII. One of the most famous RPGs of all time. Really put JRPGs on the map in the West. And the first Final Fantasy game I ever played. Not that my first RPG, but my first Final Fantasy game. I fell in love with it when I did, and I've only actually beaten it once. I haven't played all the way through it since way back in 2003. But I do think it's a great game. I don't think it's a perfect game. It's definitely got some flaws. The graphics are ugly, you know, loading times and all that, and like localization is questionable. But it's a good game. Great music, memorable music, and pretty solid gameplay. I definitely like Final Fantasy VI more, but ain't nothing. Well, I was about to say ain't nothing wrong with Final Fantasy VII. There are things wrong with it, but I mean, it's a good game, is what I'm trying to say. Final Fantasy VIII, very divisive entry in the series. Some people really like it, and some people hate it. I'm somewhere in the middle, I think. It's not one of my like preferred Final Fantasies, but there are definitely some things I like about this game. It's got really good graphics and music and stuff, and the gameplay is interesting. It's very different, like with the junction system. When I played through this game, I actually didn't understand the junction system, even though I thought I did. And I realized near the end that like I wasn't playing the game right, and I kind of was in a bad spot because of it. I had to do a bunch of grinding, but I did do the grinding, and I beat the game, and so I felt good about that. At some point, I'll probably play through it again and like see what it's like to actually play through the game while understanding what you're doing. Then we have Final Fantasy IX, which is a fantastic game. This is kind of an homage to more classic Final Fantasy games, and it's done very well. Great graphics, music, gameplay, all that jazz. And, yeah, like, I don't remember the story that well for some reason. I don't know why. I played this game over a decade ago last, so it's been a while. But it's really good. I do want to replay it someday. I don't know when that'll be, but, yeah, definitely recommend Final Fantasy IX. It's awesome. And we have Final Fantasy Anthology, which contains Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy VI, and do not play these versions of these games because they're bad ports and just, you know, bad loading times, bad music, bad frame rate and stuff for Final Fantasy VI, and like, or rather, like it gets choppy in certain places, and yeah, don't pick this up, honestly. Get the Super Nintendo versions in some way, form or another. Final Fantasy Chronicles, these are definitely better ports than Anthology, but still not the best. Final Fantasy IV is actually a really good port for the most part, aside from like some long loading times when you're saving or loading a file. But it is the hard version of Final Fantasy IV, so it is very hard. Chrono Trigger is a good port, but unfortunately the loading times do bog it down. It's kind of annoying. Some FMVs, the new FMVs are pretty cool, but not like, they're not game changers for me. I would prefer Super Nintendo or DS over that version. Final Fantasy Origins. These are two pretty good ways to play through Final Fantasy I and Final Fantasy II if you want to. The games still show their age very, very much. Like I remember when I first played these, like after having played Final Fantasy VII, I was like, this is way different, and I don't know how I feel about these. But you know, I mean, really nice reimaginings of those games, like great graphics and music and stuff. But just, you know, not the best games in the world. Final Fantasy Tactics, a lot of people really like revere this game as one of the best of its kind, And I do think it's very good, but it's definitely got some problems that bother me quite a bit. And not the least of which is the terrible localization. My goodness. Game's got a cool story, but the localization is so bad that it just, for me, it kind of ruined it. And there's definitely some other things I don't like about this game as well. Like, it can be kind of grindy. There are some parts where it prompts you to autosave, and then you can literally get stuck in a battle you can't possibly win, and you have to restart your game. That's really awful. But there's no denying that, like, the different jobs and stuff, and, like, the way you build your party and everything, it's pretty cool. It's a good game. War of the Lions on PSP does fix the localization problem, but that port has its own issues, too. I do want to play War of the Lions and see if I like it any better. We'll see someday. Fox Hunt. This is one of those FMV games that were popular on like the Sega CD and stuff. You didn't see too many of these on the PlayStation, but this is one of them, and it's like a cheesy. I want to say like you're a spy or something. Yeah, at some point I'll play this. I haven't really played it yet, but just the fact that it exists and that it's cheesy amuses me. Here's Frogger, another one of those kind of 3D remakes of Atari era games. And I think this is actually a pretty good one. And, you know, if you know Frogger, you know what it is. Get to the other side of the road without getting squashed. And it's a pretty good version of it. And it's got fun multiplayer. And not anything that's going to blow you away, but pretty solid if you like classic games. Front Mission 3, strategy RPG from Squaresoft. I've talked a little bit about Front Mission already. And, like, you got mechs and stuff and all that. And I can't say too much about this one because I'm saying that way too often. I need to actually play more of my darn games. Grand Theft Auto 2 is before Grand Theft Auto was really huge. It's got an overhead view, and it's like all 2D and stuff. And I can't play it that... I can't say too much about it. Again, here's a game I can say stuff about. It's Grandia. It's one of the best RPGs ever, in my opinion. It's really, really good. And it's... play as this kid Justin who sets out on an adventure, and the game's got good humor. It's got an awesome battle system and great music and good story and stuff. And it's really, really good. You should play it. Definitely, for no question. Only problem with Grandia is it's one of those games where if you know what you're doing, it can be really, really easy. But still, it's a great game. Play it. Heart of Darkness. This is one of those cinematic side-scrolling platformer things, kind of like Flashback or Prince of Persia or Blackthorn. You know, one of those kind of games where the controls are kind of intentionally stiff, and it's kind of trial and error based. Like you don't have lives, and can't say too much about it. I kind of dig the art style and stuff, and I want to give it a shot sometime. Hogs of War. This is kind of like 3D Worms, where like you have two armies, and like you take turns and control. Like you have like a certain amount of time to move one unit and do one action and try to wipe out the opponent, and it's pretty fun. I haven't played it a lot. I played some of the multiplayer, and it seemed interesting. I need to play more of the campaign. But it's 3D, unlike the regular Worms games, and I can't say too much else about it. I've played it some, but not a ton. Hot Shots Golf. This went on to be a pretty popular series, and it's just a pretty solid golf game, from what I can tell. I haven't played this first one very much. I've played a little bit of 3, I think. That's kind of the only one that I really have a lot of experience with. I mean, experience to speak of. Like, I don't have a lot of experience with any of them, but that's the one I've played. And then there's Hot Shots Golf 2, which is a solid golf game. Can't say too much else about it. Here is Incredible Crisis, a very quirky Japanese game. It's kind of surprising they localized it. And it's like a series of mini-games. This family is having like a very bad day, and like just all kinds of really crazy, silly stuff happens to them, and like you do mini-games to try and solve their problems. I was actually a little bit disappointed with this one. Like, I thought a lot of the minigames were, like, annoying and not really that fun. But the game is funny, and it's interesting. So, you know, if you like quirky Japanese, it's probably worth a shot. But it's not, like, a must-play game by any means, in my opinion. Intelligent Cube. This is, like, a 3D puzzle game, and I don't remember exactly how it... I don't think I ever really properly learned how it works, but, like, there's these blocks that are, like, coming towards you, and you have to, like... I forget, like, move them, or move your guy. There's a guy that's you're controlling on the stage. You have to, like, move him in a certain way or something. And I've heard it's a good game. Can't say too much about it. Irritating Stick. This is based on a game show in Japan. And, like, this game, basically, you hold up a stick, which is represented by, like, a circle on the screen. And you try to navigate it through a maze. And if you touch the walls of the maze, then you die. And it's considered not that good of a game, but it seems kind of interesting to me. Like, kind of amusing. Probably a fun game to, like... I don't know, play with people around. It's not. I don't think it's multiplayer. Actually, it might be multiplayer. I think it's interesting enough to be worth having in the collection. Jeopardy! What can I say about it? It's Jeopardy! I don't know if this is the best version. I think this game is pretty hard from what I've seen. Like, a lot of the categories I really don't know that much about. But it's Jeopardy! You know, I don't think I need to introduce you to Jeopardy. We have Jet Moto, which is a racing game, like on these, I don't know what you call them, like, they look like machines for the water, but like you ride them on land too, so it's not like strictly, I don't know, what do you even call these things? Like they're motocross, okay, that's what it is, motocross. And I played this as a kid at friends' houses and stuff, and it's a pretty good racing game. Probably not like anything that's going to blow you away today, but solid. And then we have Jet Moto 2, which is kind of more of the same. I think there's a third one, which I don't have. And I played this one as a kid as well at friends' houses. And we have Jigsaw Madness, which is a jigsaw puzzle game. And, like, you put pieces together and stuff. And I haven't played too much. I actually mostly got this for the multiplayer. And I want to say I think I've heard this game is like, glitchy or something, but I don't remember. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to do for this episode is Jumping Flash 2. You know, honestly, I probably should have done the long box games first, but it's too late now. Jumping Flash 1 and 2 are games where like they're like first-person platformers, which is kind of unique, and like the levels aren't that big, and I haven't played it that much, but it seems like everybody who plays this game likes this game, the first two Jumping Flash games, that is, and I should be one of those people someday. All right, so that's gonna do it for this first episode. It's probably gonna be at least 2 more episodes. Yeah, I think I can probably get it done in 2 episodes. So stay tuned for more PlayStation next time. I'm Samurai Sam. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day.